For Telfair, basketball wasn't just a pastime. It was a means of survival and a path to a better life. His inspiration was his older cousin, Stephon Marbury, who had grown up in the same environment and achieved NBA stardom. Marbury's success was living proof that the game could change lives.
All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you all are having a good day so far. I wanted to check out this video called The Dark Side of NBA Stardom. This is a Swish County video, and it's a rather long one. It's about 49 minutes, so I might break this up into two. We'll see how the pacing goes. But anyways, I thought this was just a cool idea for a video, and I wanted to react to it and get all of your opinions on it, because they're probably going to cover quite a few players. And yeah, considering the length of the video, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it right there and just say the link to the original video is down below. So if you guys want to check out Swish County, great channel. If you don't believe me, well, watch with me and you'll see. So if you guys want to check out that channel, subscribe to it, whatever it is, the link is down below for you guys. Everyone, please leave this video a like. Helps out a ton. I appreciate you all. And let's see the dark side of NBA stardom. This should go pretty deep. So let's check it out.
Not every NBA player's story ends with championships and success. For some, life after basketball is filled with struggles, from bad financial decisions to criminal charges. Starting with Scottie Pippen, whose post-basketball life has certainly made some noise for all the wrong reasons.
Okay, and for context, this is recent, only a couple of months old. Okay, so this is recent, but not as recent as what he said in that most recent long interview podcast thing that we covered.
Scottie's story is certainly one of the most fascinating and tragic in basketball history. As a six-time NBA champion and one of the greatest two-way players the game has ever seen, his legacy seemed untouchable. But in recent years, his life has unraveled in a way that's been both shocking and heartbreaking to witness. Once a quiet, understated legend whose game spoke volumes, Pippen has become a figure of public ridicule, embroiled in personal drama and controversies that have started to overshadow his Hall of Fame career. Pippen's rise to basketball stardom is nothing short of remarkable. Born in rural Arkansas, the youngest of 12 children, he faced incredible adversity from an early age. His family struggled with poverty, and his father's stroke during Scottie's freshman year of high school made their situation even more dire. Barely cracking the high school varsity roster and standing just 6'1" as a senior, Pippen's basketball prospects were non-existent. A chance connection between his high school coach and Central Arkansas University gave him a lifeline, and an improbable growth spurt to 6'8" transformed him into a legitimate NBA prospect. By his senior year, he was dominating NAIA competition, eventually becoming the 5th overall pick in the 1987 NBA draft, thanks to the vision of Jerry Krause. What followed was a legendary career with the Chicago Bulls. Pippen's pairing with Michael Jordan created the most iconic duo in NBA history. Pippen's versatility as a point forward and his dominance as a defender were essential to the Bulls' 6 championship runs. While Jordan was undoubtedly the alpha, Pippen was the glue guy that held the dynasty together. At his peak, Pippen was arguably the second best player in the NBA, a 7-time All-Star and 10-time All-Defensive Team member who elevated everyone around him. However, the cracks in his reputation began to show during the 1994 playoffs when Jordan retired. Leading the Bulls to an impressive 55 wins, Pippen finished 3rd in MVP voting, but tarnished his leadership image by refusing to enter a playoff game after Phil Jackson drew up the final shot for Tony Kukoc.
I'll always remember what Jordan said in The Last Dance, because it's the exact same thing that, like, me and my brother were saying way back then in 94. Like, how do you come back from something like this? I don't know, because we all saw it live on TV. You can't deny what happened. But then I also remember what Scottie Pippen said in The Last Dance about this, and he said, I would do it again.
While Tony's game-winning shot briefly masked the incident, it became a defining blemish on Pippen's career. Post-retirement, Pippen's struggles became more visible. financial mismanagement, including the loss of millions on a private jet, and a publicized divorce from his wife, Larsa Pippen, painted a picture of a man whose life was unraveling. The media feasted on Larsa's infidelity and eventual relationship with rapper Future, further humiliating Scottie. His attempts to find a post-basketball identity faltered, with failed coaching aspirations and a souring of his relationship with the Bulls organization.
I just have to. For a guy who complains about money and has been complaining about money for 30 years now, don't feel so bad, you guys. He spent $4.3 million on a plane. Why? Why did he need that? Why did he need that? You know? That's something you buy if you have an excess of money. You're filthy rich if you're just out there buying planes. So don't buy into it. Don't buy into, oh, Scottie doesn't have that. Scottie doesn't have money, blah, blah, blah. No, he doesn't have money because he spent it all. You know? He made more money in the NBA than Michael Jordan did. Michael Jordan just invested it, you know?
Further humiliating Scottie. His attempts to find a post-basketball identity faltered, with failed coaching aspirations and a souring of his relationship with the Bulls organization. The release of the Last Dance documentary in 2020 seemed to only amplify Pippen's bitterness. While the series celebrated the Bulls' dynasty, Pippen felt slighted by his portrayal, particularly in comparison to Jordan's glorification. He later unleashed a barrage of criticisms against Jordan, accusing him of selfishness, diminishing his contributions to the team, and even calling him a poor teammate. These comments shocked fans, who had long seen Pippen as Jordan's trusted sidekick and his best friend. Instead, the documentary exposed deep-seated resentment, with Pippen using his autobiography as a platform to air grievances and rewrite history. Adding to the turmoil
and make another paycheck
was the tragic loss of Pippen's eldest son, Antron, at just 33 years old. The pain of losing a child compounded with what seemed like a chain of events derailing this guy's life. Unfortunately for Scottie, when it rains, it pours. The cherry on top of his public collapse came when Jordan's son Marcus began a relationship with Larsa Pippen, further embarrassing Scottie to the public eye. Today, Scottie Pippen's name is often associated with more controversy than his on-court brilliance.
Yeah, like his crypto token right there.
From financial struggles and personal loss to his very public falling out with Jordan, his post-retirement years have been a far cry from the heights he once reached. I mean, the Scottie Pippen downfall is one of the most disheartening. As a guy whose role in basketball history could not be overstated, watching him deal with tragedy and ruined relationships has been hard to watch on a human level. And all the world can really do is just wish the best for him at this point. If you're watching right now,
it's so hard when it comes to Scottie, because I sincerely feel terrible about the family stuff that happened. You know, whatever it was between him and his wife, and then all that, and then her publicly kind of like humiliating him. And then, of course, losing a child like that is absolutely devastating. And that's why I've always been willing to give him a pass if he just comes out and apologizes. It's so easy. It's so easy. Unless you're that stubborn and your ego is, you know, that inflated where you can't apologize and just say, hey, guys, I was in the lowest point of my life. I said some things I shouldn't have said. You know, I apologize, and just apologize to Phil individually, go apologize to MJ individually. Man, decent people will understand. When a person's at the lowest, you know, you let it slide. But if they double down on it after the tragedy has passed, which now it's been years since the tragedies, and they keep doubling down on it, no, there's no forgiveness there. And it's unfortunate, because I wanted to see him be forgiven. I really wanted that for Scottie. I looked up to him so much growing up. Anyways, I've talked about this to death in previous videos. Let's move forward to the next. Subscribed and not subscribed on the screen. Yep. I get that too. Yeah, most of my viewers are not subscribers.
A 95% chance that you aren't subscribed to the channel, so make sure to change that. It's free, and it
0.8
really
though.
helps us get more of these videos out
not
to you
bad.
at a higher quality and at a longer duration. So make sure you click that button for me. Ricky Berry's life is a bittersweet tale of immense promise cut tragically short. Born on October 6th, 1964 in Lansing, Michigan, Ricky was immersed in basketball from the start. His father, Bill Berry, was an assistant coach at Michigan State during Magic's years, and Ricky grew up surrounded by the game's intricacies. Basketball wasn't just a sport for Ricky, it was part of his identity. From a young age, he displayed a natural feel for the game, and his upbringing on the sidelines of Michigan State's program only fueled his passion. As a teenager, Ricky's potential became undeniable. Standing 6'8" and possessing a remarkably smooth shooting stroke, he had the kind of versatility and skill set that could transform a game. He honed his abilities at Live Oak High School in Morgan Hill, California, after his family relocated to the area when Bill Berry took over as the head coach at San Jose State. It was clear to everyone who saw him play that Ricky was destined for greatness. Ricky's journey to the NBA was shaped by his father's guidance, though Bill was cautious about mixing his roles as a coach and a parent. After high school, Ricky initially committed to Oregon State, but after one season, he realized he wanted to play under his father. With his mother's persuasion, Bill agreed, and Ricky transferred to San Jose State in 1984. Under his father's tutelage, Ricky just blossomed, becoming the team's centerpiece and a prolific scorer. Injuries plagued some of his collegiate career, but his talent remained undeniable. By the time the Sacramento Kings selected him as the 18th overall pick in the 1988 NBA draft, Ricky had established himself as one of the most promising forwards in the game. Berry's rookie season with the Kings really showcased his potential. Playing in an era before three-point shooting was widely emphasized, he was already ahead of his time as a sharpshooter. He averaged 11 a game on an efficient 45% from the field, including an impressive 40% from three-point range.
Okay.
A rare feat for a rookie or any player playing at this time.
Yeah.
His breakout performance came in February 1989 when he scored a career-high 34 points against the Golden State Warriors. Over the final stretch of the season, Ricky's numbers surged to 18.3 points and 5 rebounds per game, demonstrating his ability to excel at the highest level. Teammates, coaches, and fans saw him as a cornerstone for the Kings' future, a player who could help lead the franchise to new heights. Off the court, Ricky was known for his calm demeanor, intelligence, and thoughtful approach to life. He was well liked by teammates and those in the Kings organization. His humility stood out in a league often dominated by larger-than-life personalities. Despite the promise of a lucrative NBA career, Ricky kept his sights on life beyond basketball. He even worked a summer job at a car dealership wanting to prepare for a future beyond the game.
Wow.
However, Ricky's inner world was far more complex than anyone could have realized.
What is this? Where's this
On
going?
14th, 1989, the basketball world was stunned when
Whoa.
news broke of his death.
Wow.
Less than an hour after an argument with his wife Valerie, Ricky took his own life in their suburban Sacramento home, stating that Valerie didn't love him and that she was trying to take advantage of him. The revelation shocked those who knew him, as Ricky had never outwardly shown signs of such despair. Friends and teammates struggled to make sense of the
Romance. Freaking romance. That's so sad. He had everything going for him. But there's problems in the house.
tragedy. Jeff Logan,
Dang.
one of Ricky's closest friends, was adamant that marital issues alone couldn't have driven him to such an act. Others speculated that a combination of factors, marital stress, the pressures of professional basketball, and the responsibilities of home ownership had created an overwhelming burden for the 24-year-old. Psychologists weighed in, suggesting that Ricky's stoic personality may have hidden deeper emotional struggles that went unaddressed. The aftermath of Ricky's death only deepened the sense of mystery and sorrow. His family canceled a planned memorial service in Sacramento without explanation, and Valerie retreated from public view, declining to comment on her husband's death. The Sacramento Kings organization, still reeling from the loss, honored Ricky's memory in the following season, but the void he left was palpable. Ricky Berry's tragic death is a reminder of how unseen struggles can often affect even the most seemingly composed individuals. From the outside, he had everything: youth, talents, a loving family, and a promising career.
Yeah.
Yet, beneath the surface, he battled demons that ultimately claimed his life. Decades later, his story remains a cautionary tale about the importance of mental health and the pressures that young athletes face. Had Ricky Berry lived, the NBA might have witnessed the full blossoming of his talents. His combination of size, shooting, and versatility was ahead of his time, and his presence on the court hinted at a player who could redefine the forward position. Hell, some even related his talent to that of Reggie Miller. It's unfortunate we never got to watch his talents grow, but more importantly, Ricky was a human being whose loss reminds us that success and promise are no guarantees of inner peace.
Oh, absolutely.
Sebastian Telfair's story is one of the most fascinating.
Yeah, well said. Well said. You can have all this. I thinking Kurt Cobain, real quick, but there's so many other examples. You think they have everything, but they don't. They don't have joy. They're not happy. And a lot of times that could be a mental illness or just absolute internal despair that nobody could see because it's not visible. And if they're out in public, they're putting on that fake smile and, fake it till you make it kind of thing. That's just unfortunate because on the outside, he had it all. But it doesn't matter. That's why I always say, fame, success, money, all that stuff is great. Especially the money, because we need money to survive. But success is also a good feeling type of thing, good for our self-esteem. But at the end of the day, if you don't find joy, then you're in trouble, And a lot of people that they think that achieving more and more success is what's giving them joy. But if they slow down for 1 minute, you can't. Those are people who can't retire because you can't slow down, because the second you slow down, your thoughts are your worst enemies. And they have not been to a point in life where they've had to face those monsters, those internal monsters. And it's just such a sad story. I wasn't expecting that turn. Everything was on the up and up. Woof. This is a deep video. Okay. Sebastian Telfair, let's go.
Tales in basketball history. A roller coaster ride of immense talent, stratospheric hype, and a fall that splattered harder than you could have possibly imagined. To fully understand how Telfair went from the next big thing to a career marked by unfulfilled potential, we need to start at the beginning. His roots in the tough streets of Brooklyn, New York. Telfair grew up in the Coney Island projects, an area known for its challenges, but also its passion for basketball. Courts were scattered throughout the neighborhood, offering kids an escape from the harsh realities of poverty and violence. For Telfair, basketball wasn't just a pastime. It was a means of survival and a path to a better life. His inspiration was his older cousin, Stephon Marbury, who had grown up in the same environment and achieved NBA stardom. Marbury's success was living proof that the game could change lives, and Telfair wanted to follow in his footsteps. Living just a floor apart in the same apartment building, Telfair grew up watching Marbury's rise. From a young age, he idolized his cousin, soaking in every lesson he could from Marbury's journey. By the time Telfair was 6 years old, he was already displaying a drive and determination that set him apart from his peers. He dominated games in his local 11 underleague, and his work ethic was relentless. With a singular focus on making it to the NBA, Telfair would spend countless hours perfecting his craft. By middle school, it was clear that Telfair was no ordinary talent. His skill set, lightning-fast speed, impeccable ball handling, and extraordinary vision was years ahead of his age group. He had an innate ability to make basketball look effortless, and the buzz surrounding him began to quickly grow. This buzz had a fever pitch when he was invited to the Adidas ABCD camp, a showcase for the best high school players in the country. Most participants were upperclassmen, but Telfair attended as an 8th grader and held his own against some of the top players in the nation. That performance solidified his status as a phenom, and made it clear to everyone watching that Telfair was destined for greatness. As Telfair entered Lincoln High School, his legend only grew. In a city that prided itself on basketball, Telfair became a household name. His games were must-see events, with gymnasiums packed to capacity and fans spilling out into the parking lot. This was before the age of social media, yet Telfair achieved a level of fame that seemed almost mythical. Celebrities like Jay-Z and Derek Jeter were regulars at his game, and scouts from every major college program in the country lined the bleachers to watch him play. His flashy style of basketball, mixed with his ability to score and set up teammates, made him one of the most exciting high schoolers the game has ever seen. One of the most defining moments of Telfair's high school lore came during a legendary one-on-one game against his cousin Stephon Marbury. By this time, Marbury was an established NBA All-Star, while Telfair was a 17-year-old high school junior. The game took place on a street court in their neighborhood, and the entire block turned out to watch. Despite the age and experience gap, Telfair rose to the occasion, holding his own and even outplaying Marbury. The performance only added to the mystique surrounding Telfair, cementing his status as a generational talent. Telfair's junior year was a triumph. He led Lincoln High School to the state championship, averaging over 30 a game and nearly 10 assists.
Damn.
His mix of speed, ball handling, and court vision made him unstoppable at the high school level. Off the court, his celebrity status continued to grow. He was invited to high-profile events like Jay-Z's sponsored pro game at Rucker, where he competed against NBA players and still managed to stand out. By his senior year, Telfair was the biggest name in high school basketball, drawing comparisons to legends like Allen Iverson and even LeBron James. Initially, Telfair planned to attend the University of Louisville, believing that college would be the best place to develop his game and address some of his weaknesses. Despite his incredible talent, there were concerns about how his skills would translate into the NBA. At just 6 feet tall, Telfair was undersized, which made finishing at the rim and defending bigger guards a challenge. His jump shot was also inconsistent, a glaring weakness that needed to be addressed. College seemed like the next logical step, but a tragic event would change everything for him. Just weeks after committing to Louisville, a murder occurred near Telfair's family's apartment. The incident shook him to his core, reminding him of the dangers of his environment. Determined to get his family out of the projects, Telfair made the decision to declare for the NBA draft straight out of high school.
I 100% can't blame him for that. Especially after something like that happens. Yeah, get my family out of here.
It was a risky move, but one that ultimately paid off when he was selected 13th overall in the 2004 NBA draft by the Portland Trail Blazers. He also signed an 8-figure endorsement deal with Adidas, securing his financial future and fulfilling his goal of providing for his family. Telfair entered the NBA with sky-high expectations, but his professional career never lived up to the hype. While he showed some flashes of brilliance, his weaknesses, poor shooting, limited size, and inconsistent defense were exposed at the highest level. After achieving his dream, Telfair admitted that he lost some of the hunger that had driven him for so long. His NBA career was marked by frequent trades and stints with multiple teams, never quite finding a consistent role or home in the NBA. Telfair would also struggle with leaving his past in the past, as he would be charged with illegal firearm possession 3 times, the third of which would land him in prison, as well as being charged in the health and welfare plan that just landed Big Baby behind bars. The downfall of Telfair was certainly an unfortunate tale, and a real reality check for the man who seemed to once have it all. But at least he left us one crazy story in the meantime. Vin Baker's story...
Dang, man. Dang, I didn't know about the prison thing.
...is a roller coaster, making it one of the most compelling in NBA history.
Vin Baker.
His rise to prominence was fast and impressive, but the sudden and steep decline in his career was nothing short of tragic.
Yeah, Vin Baker was... Man, when he was cooking, he was cooking.
Vin Baker's journey to the NBA wasn't one marked by childhood stardom or high school accolades, unlike many of his peers. Born in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, he wasn't even on his high school's varsity team until his junior year. His rise to basketball prominence didn't come until much later in life, and as a result, Baker was relatively unknown on the national stage early on. Unlike players who grew up under the spotlight, Baker was a late bloomer who had to work his way up from a smaller stage. While many of his contemporaries were being scouted by major D1 programs, Baker did not receive offers from the basketball powerhouses of the country. Instead, he ended up at the University of Hartford, a much smaller and less prestigious school. But what Hartford lacked in national recognition, Baker made up for with his remarkable performance. By his junior season, he was a dominant force on the court, averaging more than 27 and 10 and nearly 4 blocks a game.
Damn.
His performance was so impressive that in 1992, Sports Illustrated dubbed him as America's best-kept secret. He played with such intensity and skill that those who saw him knew he was something special, but unfortunately, many didn't get that chance, as Hartford's games were rarely broadcasted nationally. Despite this, coaches and scouts who did see him play were in awe of his talents and his college performances beginning to attract more attention. However, despite his individual brilliance, Hartford teams did not have much success. They never made it to the NCAA tourney during his time there, which kept his profile from rising even higher. Yet, Baker's college career wasn't without accomplishments. He finished his time at Hartford as the school's all-time leading scorer, and his talent was enough to propel him into the NBA. In the 1993 draft, Baker was selected 8th overall by the Milwaukee Bucks, in a class loaded with future superstars.
Heck, I think I still have his rookie card somewhere.
Chris Webber and Penny Hardaway. Baker's transition to NBA basketball was a success almost immediately. By his second season in the league, he had already established himself as one of the premier big men of his generation. Standing at 6'11 and weighing 230 pounds, Baker was a physical force, but it was his versatility that really set him apart. At a time when the game was still dominated by traditional low-post bruisers, Baker adapted his game to be more dynamic. He was one of the only big men to consistently stretch the floor, shooting 45% from the mid-range, a statistic that was mostly unheard of from players at his position. He didn't just shoot well for a big man. His scoring ability from anywhere on the court made him a matchup nightmare. He was also known for his excellent footwork in the post, his strong rebounding, and his ability to see the floor with a good court vision. This made him a unique player in an era where most big men were expected to be inside, beating each other up. In the late 1990s, when the NBA's pace slowed down significantly, averaging 20 and 10 per game was a rare feat. Baker was able to do this consistently even though his competition was fierce. He stood out as one of the most skilled and versatile big men at the time. Despite his impressive...
Guys, I don't remember what happened to him. It's one of those situations where I was a fan. He was always one of the best players I remember watching. And then I stopped hearing the name Vin Baker, so I'm kind of on edge. What happened to him? I'm a little nervous to find out.
Individual performance, Baker's teams were often stuck in the middle. Whether it was the Bucks or the Seattle Supersonics, Baker never found himself on a team that could truly contend for a championship.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He reached the playoffs several times, but never made it past the second round. And as a result, his NBA journey lacked the postseason success that many expected of him. Baker's career reached a critical juncture in 1999 when he signed a massive 7-year, $86 million contract with the Seattle Supersonics.
Ooh, weight clause. So we have seen this before.
The deal was a sign of his potential and his status as one of the NBA's brightest stars. But it was at this point that the cracks in his career started to show. While Baker had been a standout player, he was beginning to struggle with personal issues that no one could have anticipated. Behind the scenes, his addiction to alcohol and drugs began to worsen, and it was something that at the time was not widely known. Baker had become dependent on substances to perform, relying on alcohol and drugs to get through games and practices.
No.
According to teammates,
it's one thing to drink after work. It's a whole different thing to drink to get through work.
Times when the entire locker room would smell of booze before practice. See, Baker wasn't exactly like many other stars in the NBA. He didn't grow up a star, as we covered previously, and nobody really thought twice about Baker until he made it into the NBA. He was a devout Christian kid who would return home most weekends throughout college. And as he was casted into the world, not only was he on his own for the first time, but the world was watching his every move. Sure, he was having all the success in the world at the start of his career, but he was suffering every minute of it. Baker states he had some severe anxiety throughout his early years in the NBA. What he found was his fix was drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
This certainly fixed the issue for the time being, but in reality, Baker was a ticking time bomb. Despite these troubling signs, the Sonics stuck with him, betting on his potential and re-signing him to the lucrative contract. Unfortunately, his personal struggles continued to spiral, and by the early 2000s, it became clear that Baker's best years were already behind him. In 2003, after being traded to the Celtics, the full extent of his issues would come to light. Team doctors discovered significant liver damage caused by his substance abuse.
Oh no.
By 2006, just 7 years after signing his enormous
that kind of liver damage that fast, he was drinking a lot.
Contract, Baker was out of the NBA. It was a heartbreaking fall from grace for a player who had once seemed to have it all. Baker's personal life continued to decline. He turned to an even wider array of drugs, including Xanax and Librium, and spent his
Librium? I don't know what that is. I know what Xanax is, obviously. Downing bottles of Listerine. Oof.
Days in isolation. His health deteriorated rapidly. He became skeletal, vomiting blood and struggling with severe liver damage. To make matters worse, Baker had squandered much of his earnings. Despite earning over $100 million throughout his career, he lost it all.
Don't tell me this is going to lead to his death. No.
His $3 million home in Connecticut was foreclosed, his restaurant went out of business, and in an almost surreal twist, he was forced to sell his Olympic gold medal. By 2011, Baker had officially hit rock bottom. He had blown through his fortune and was now living under the same roof as his parents and his childhood home. Essentially broke, Baker was drinking bottles a day, waiting for the alcohol to take his life. It was a dark, dark reality that gradually got worse and worse before destroying his life and leaving him with nothing. After the humbling reality of being a retired all-star that was overweight on his parents' couch, Baker managed to tackle what very addicts ever do in their life.
Please do.
And that is curb their addiction. Through reconnecting with his Catholic upbringing, and after multiple attempts at sobriety, Baker was able to successfully quit indulging for the long haul. But still, this left him far, far from the real world. See, Baker had no money and no real world experience. He could put a ball in the rim, but that was over and done with. In his words, the only life he lived was the fantasy of the NBA. Baker would use one of his NBA connections to launch himself back into reality, contacting the former Sonics owner and Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz on potentially getting into the coffee business. Schultz was certainly open to the idea, but rather than being a franchise owner, Schultz had other plans. 10 years withdrawn from the NBA lights, Baker would start at the bottom of the food chain as a Starbucks barista.
I've heard something about this. Oof, guys, I thought this was going to lead to the addiction, putting him in the grave. I'm really happy about this.
Religion and working a normal job along with the rest of society not only helped Baker build a routine to keep him out of trouble, but also taught him a lot about the real world. After years of what he calls the hardest work he's ever done,
Starbucks.
Baker worked his way up to a manager position at his local store, before eventually opportunity called. After years of getting back onto his feet, Baker would get an opportunity to get back into basketball with the Milwaukee Bucks, working in broadcasting and eventually assistant coaching, and even winning that championship that he never got during his playing days. Vin Baker certainly lost a lot throughout his life due to his addiction, and in more than one ways, Baker is one of those guys that reminds you that these guys are really just humans. Vin was a normal kid that began partaking in some destructive habits, and by the time he realized what it was doing to him, it was already too late. I mean, he was never a bad guy, just a guy with a problem.
Yeah.
In the end, I'm sure Baker wishes he could have rebounded without wasting $100 million in the process. No matter how hard you splat at the bottom, Baker's story proves that continual progress can get you out of whatever hole you're in.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there, and we're gonna finish this off tomorrow. Wow, what a turn of events. What a story. Like that could be its own video right there, just about Vin Baker. Incredible story. I'm so happy for the guy though, that he turned it around. He's sober. He's back working in the NBA. You know, he's doing some coaching and stuff. Like he has a second chance to make that money again and hopefully retire in peace. Because, you know, you guys might think it's crazy that he blew all of his money, but when I worked in behavior health with addiction and mental illness, my God, I saw this similar, not this, you know, not NBA players, but I saw so many people who had all the success in the world, all the money in the world, and then, you know, it could be whatever. It could be just a party lifestyle led you to a meth addiction, and in that meth addiction, suddenly destroyed all of your money. And while your money is being destroyed, you lose your job because you're addicted to meth, and now, you know, the money runs dry. The addiction takes over, and you find yourself homeless on the street, and then that's where weed come in. You know, I even remember one guy, he won the lottery, $50-something million, and within 1 year, he was homeless. And yeah, he was homeless. His major addiction was gambling, and then the gambling led to alcohol, and that was enough. Like, he was just drinking and gambling, even though it was crazy to me, because I actually got to ask him. I'm like, man, you had $50 million. Why were you gambling still? You won, you know? He's like, I know. I was like, damn, dude, you won the game. You know, the game of life is over. But I get, you know, like, he had some points. He was like, well, what do you do when you have all that money? I got bored. I'm like, I guess, you know? I don't think I would have done it, but I can't sit here and say, like, it's not possible, because, yeah, there's no challenge left. You're rich, so you just start, like, gambling it. I don't know, man. All I know is that Vin Baker's not the only one. So the fact that he turned it around and he got sober, I'm really, really happy about that. I thought this was going to be one of those stories that leads to his demise. And I'm all about second chances. If you can do the right thing, that's a beautiful aspect of life. But anyways, I've rambled long enough here, you guys. I hope you come back tomorrow for part 2. We're going to wrap this up. This is a really good video so far. And I'm linking the original video down below for you guys. Swish County deserves way more subscribers than he has. So I hope you go down there. I hope you're interested. And I hope you subscribe to the channel. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for the next part. And before that, I'll see you in the comments, all right? Peace out, everybody.